NFL Draft Week, and it's time to discuss where the Longhorns turned pros should be hoping to land. Plus, we'll do our best Goodell impressions and head to the virtual podium in our TSTV mock draft of round one. College Press Box starts right now. Welcome into College Press Box, everyone. I'm Jake Herman. Glad to be your host on this Monday evening. We've got a show tonight packed with NFL draft content. We've got a packed panel here with us via Zoom to mark the occasion. We've got joining us tonight from all over the country. We've got Adam Ogburn, John Kelly, Clark Dalton, and Matt Marinchak. Each of them are ready to enter the war rooms of your favorite NFL teams as we present our mock draft of round one. But first, let's hear from these panelists about the Longhorn prospects coming into this 2020 draft. Mock drafts from a lot of different outlets. They're very torn over where and when some of these guys are going to be drafted, including no case more prevalent than that of Devin Duvernay. Predictions range from the third round all the way down to the sixth round. Nobody really knows where Duvernay is going to end up. So I want to know from you guys, which team do you believe should be Duvernay's dream destination? And we'll start with you, Adam.
I'm going to go with the Dallas Cowboys on this one. Duvernay grew up in Saucon, Texas, just outside of Dallas, so it'd be a hometown team. The Cowboys lost Randall Cobb this year. They have a great offense around him with Cooper and Gallup on the outsides and then Ezekiel Elliott running back. So Duvernay would be a great plug-and-play option there at slot receiver.
Yeah, a ton of weapons already around him, and maybe that's where Duvernay could thrive in that slot receiving role. What about you, John? Where do you see Devin Duvernay having the most success?
I think he should go to Baltimore. I mean, the Ravens really need key players in the receiver position. Lamar Jackson, great with the legs, still working on the pass. He needs some solid receivers. I definitely don't see him going early. I think he's like a fourth or fifth round pick.
Right, and so we've got the Cowboys and the Ravens out there, a couple of teams that are on the cusp of playoff success. Are there any dark horses where we could see Duvernay going, or do you guys think the Ravens and Cowboys are the best spots? Clark, what about you?
As they say, great minds think alike. I think the Baltimore Ravens are the perfect spot for Devin Duvernay. Not only because the Ravens need wide receivers. They didn't have a single wide receiver in the NFL who was top 10 in yardage last season. But also Devin Duvernay really fits well with Lamar Jackson. The Ravens aren't going to take a lot of shots downfield. They want to move the chains little by little. And that's exactly what Devin Duvernay did at Texas. He's great at catching screen passes. He's great going across the middle. And I think it would take Baltimore's offense to the next level and bring them closer to where they want to go.
Right, and as if Baltimore's offense wasn't dynamic enough, Duvernay would add another weapon in. Last but not least, we come to Matt Marinchak. Matt, where do you think Duvernay should want to land?
When we look at this year's draft, if it was any other year, it wasn't so stacked a receiver, Duvernay probably would have went second round, maybe late first. But I think the perfect fit for him is going to have to be the Indianapolis Colts. Outside T.Y. Hilton, they really have no options at receiver, and Phillip Rivers is going to need a guy that go in the slot, catch those short passes, move the chains, and maybe take some deep shots every once in a while.
Yeah, and Duvernay gives you all those options. So we've got the Colts, 2 for the Ravens, and 1 for the Cowboys. Let us know, in the comments where you think Devin Duvernay should end up. But we're going to move on now from the Longhorns' perspective to the NFL team's perspective, because there are a lot of other Longhorns expecting to be drafted this week. Let's think about not how their careers are going to start, but maybe how they'll look in the future. Which Longhorn do you guys think will have the best NFL career in total? And this time, we'll start with Clark.
This is a really hard pick because I'm torn between Devin Duvernay and Colin Johnson. And even though I love Colin Johnson, there's a lot of great things about him. He's 6'6", and he can separate and make some great catches. I'd have to go with Devin Duvernay just because I think he has the mentality to be a pro. He's very relaxed. He's very goal-driven. And every year he improved in college. He went from 41 catches his junior year to 106. That's a huge growth. So he's continuing to improve. And Duvernay is just so athletic. But not only is he fast, he's strong. He can break tackles easily and gain additional yardage, which is important at the next level.
Yeah, Duvernay, great with the yards after the catch. I've seen him compared in some scouting reports to a running back that just happens to have the route running ability and hands of a receiver. So we've got 1 for Duvernay. Adam, what do you think?
I think Devin Duvernay could be the more ready option this year, but long term, I'm going to go with Colin Johnson. And I'm going to agree with Clark on the 6'6" frame. It's that big frame. You can teach a lot of stuff in the NFL. You can't teach genetics. His dad played cornerback for 10 years in the NFL, so he has that family pedigree. And we've seen at Texas, he's pulled off some amazing catches. He's got a great span. And so I think this big body, that'll help keep him in the league. And those circus catches that we've seen, those big plays, I think that could keep him in the league for years to come.
Yeah, Johnson's made some plays where they just made you go, wow. You could see this on Sundays time and time again. There are questions of durability there, but we'll see how that weighs into what our other panelists have to say. One for Duvernay, one for Johnson so far. Matt, are we going Duvernay, Johnson, or somebody else?
I think we have to go somewhere else on this one. Defensive side of the ball, I think Brandon Jones has the best long-term future in the NFL. Because right now he's very physical safety, but he has a lot of potential. Sure, there's a little small errors here and there, but if you work with that and you develop him, I feel like he would maybe 5 years down the road be a top 10 safety in the league.
Yeah, and some of the NFL draft experts agree with you that Jones may have the highest potential. Some have him going off the board as early as round 2, and we'll see how that all shakes out on draft day. John, we got 3 options out there. Are you adding a 4th one into the mix, or are you going to endorse Duvernay, Johnson, or Jones?
Nope. I'm agreeing with Adam here. Colin Johnson, his ability to make those explosive plays. I think the one thing to watch, or the NFL teams will be watching, is the possible injury proneness. I mean, obviously, he was out most of his senior season with that hamstring injury. And then at the NFL Combine, he got a hip flexor injury as well. I think he just has to be sure to stay healthy, and he'll have a long and great NFL career.
Yeah, and obviously you wish for the best health for all the Longhorns players and wish them all success as they head up to the next level. So Colin Johnson, our panel, votes in a contested split. Hey, that's not the first time our panel is going to be split on their opinions tonight. That's part of the fun of draft day, right? You just sort of making your best guess at how all these guys are going to pan out. And now we're going to do even more of that as we get into our mock draft. So last night, all of us came together and formed a mock draft of the first 32 picks of the first round. And, the order looks a little bit different in terms of who drafted which pick. That came out a little bit funny just because people have to trade picks around. But we tried to assume the role of each team that we controlled and make a pick based on the needs of that particular team. And so everyone will get on here and have a chance to explain their thought process with that pick. So we're going to take you guys through it now. Hope you follow along, get some of that draft day excitement. And now I get to say some of the most exciting words in football. The Cincinnati Bengals are on the clock. And picking for them in this first round, we have the Cincinnati Bengals. Take it away.
The Cincinnati Bengals for the first round pick, the first pick of the first round, pick Joe Burrow, quarterback, Louisiana State University.
So, John, a lot of people have been saying this pick is somewhat of a no-brainer, but take us through it anyway. Number 1 overall pick, why Burrow for Cincinnati?
I mean, number 1, I think Joe Burrow's merits speak for themselves on why, he deserves to be number 1. But from Cincinnati's point of view, I mean, I love Andy Dalton, Texas born and raised. But, he just hasn't been doing so hot. I mean, the Bengals overall, not great. And I think they really need that change, that spark, and maybe make things interesting in the AFC North this season.
Yeah, he was the Heisman Trophy winner. He was undefeated. He came right into DKR. We all saw him light up the scoreboard against the Longhorns, and the Bengals will be hoping he lights it up on Sundays for years to come. Second pick of the draft belongs to the Washington Redskins, and their GM, Dan Snyder, a.k.a. Adam Ogburn, has the pick.
Yeah, with the second pick of the 2020 NFL Draft, the Washington Redskins are going to go with Chase Young, defensive end out of Ohio State.
And so tell me a little bit, like each of you, after you make the pick, give us a couple of sentences on the rationale, the thought process, why you took the guy you did.
Well, among many draft analysts, Young is arguably the best player in this draft. And if it wasn't such a quarterback-centered league, he could be a challenger for number 1. But looking at the Redskins, their best pass rusher is 32-year-old Ryan Kerrigan, who only had 5.5 sacks last year. And so we've seen defensive ends out of Ohio State, the Bosa brothers. We've seen them be high draft picks and perform. And I think that's what the Redskins will be hoping they get here out of Chase Young.
Yeah, those are great points, Adam. The Redskins Pass rush used to be a strength for them. Now maybe not as much. Adam, you also had the Lions pick at number 3. And who will Detroit be selecting with that 3rd pick?
Yeah, with the 3rd pick, the Lions are going to go with another Buckeye. They're going to select Jeff Okudah, the cornerback out of Ohio State. And so the Lions this offseason, they traded away Darius Slay to the Philadelphia Eagles. He was their top number 1 shutdown corner. And now Okudah can come in and replace this. One thing to watch for on draft night, the Lions may try to trade down if a quarterback-hungry team wants that pick. But I think Okudah will still be there at 5 or 6 if they trade down. So he had 3 or 4 interceptions last year. He'll be the number 1, covering the other team's top receiver. And that's what the Lions are going to hope to get out of him with the 3rd pick.
Got it. So Okudah to the Lions. Not necessarily an endorsement of Okudah at number 3, but more of a target for the Lions. So good to clear that one up. And now we move right along to the New York Football Giants. And self-proclaimed fan Matt Marinchak was in charge of this pick.
All right, with the 4th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the New York Football Giants select Isaiah Simmons, linebacker, Clemson.
All right, little mixed reaction from the Giants crowd. Tell us about this pick.
So as I said last year on the same show, the Giants need help everywhere. Not much has changed. So I think Isaiah Simmons is the best player they could get. He's a great versatile player. He's played inside, outside, edge, safety, all around the defense. And right now he's the reigning Butkus Award winner, and he's faced the best competition in college football, playing for Clemson in the last 3 years. So I think at number 4, he's the best pick for the Giants.
Yeah, Simmons, an impressive prospect, and he goes to the Giants at number 4 in our TSTV mock draft. I had the Dolphins at number 5, and the Dolphins, this is a very big draft for them. They have a lot of picks here in this first round, and so with the 5th pick, the Miami Dolphins will select Tua Tagovailoa, quarterback out of Alabama. The Giants, all those years ago, passed on Drew Brees because they said, he's got injury concerns. We're not quite sure if he's going to be our guy. Ended up with Chad Pennington, and it really did not work out for them. The Dolphins will not make the same mistake again. Tua Tagovailoa heads to the 305 and will be the Dolphins quarterback, they hope, for years to come. Number 6, Los Angeles Chargers. Clark Dalton, what say you?
With the 6th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Chargers select Justin Herbert, quarterback from Oregon.
All right, give us the deep dive. Why Herbert?
Now, Herbert, he's the most interesting quarterback prospect in this class. He's the guy, if you're drawing up a franchise quarterback, this is what they look like. He's 6'6", has a rocket arm, ran a 4.68 40-yard dash at the combine, and he's smart. He threw 32 touchdowns in 2019, and that was in spite of having young, inexperienced wide receivers. He's a lot of untapped potential, and I think he's going to grow into a star at the next level.
All right, so we're 6 picks in, and we've got 3 quarterbacks off the board. Next up, Clark, we stick with you because you have the Carolina Panthers at number 7, and who will they be selecting?
With the 7th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers select Derek Brown, defensive tackle, Auburn.
All right, War Eagle out there. Derek Brown goes to the Panthers. Why did you choose to take Brown, the defensive tackle?
Brown is the best defensive tackle in this class, bar none. He's 6'5", so he has a unique ability to actually disrupt the passing game a little bit because he can get those big, long arms up there, and that's especially important in the NFC South right now because you're going up against Matt Ryan, Drew Brees, and now Tom Brady, and he's really agile through the gaps. He easily gets into the backfield easily. He had 55 tackles last season, 12.5 were for a loss, and that led Auburn. I think he's going to be a great pro.
Yeah, great point, and great point about the 3 quarterbacks he's facing in that division. None of them particularly mobile, so a good pass rusher can be a huge difference maker. I had the Arizona Cardinals and the number 8th pick, and with that 8th pick, the Cardinals have selected Tristan Wirfs, offensive lineman from the University of Iowa. Wirfs is a left tackle who is one of 2 really good tackles that was out there that I considered for this pick because the Cardinals need an offensive line to protect Kyler Murray, their up-and-coming quarterback. I went with Wirfs over Alabama's Jedrick Wills, who I also considered for this pick, just because Wirfs was a bit faster and better in some zone blocking, and I think that suits Arizona's offense well, given that Wirfs performed very well at the combine in terms of speed and agility, and Murray loves to extend plays out of the pocket. So Tristan Wirfs goes to the Cardinals, offensive line pick at number 8. Number 9, Jacksonville Jaguars. Matt, what you got?
All right, with the 9th pick in the NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select C.J. Henderson, cornerback from Florida.
All right, and just go right into the analysis.
So over the past year, the Jaguars traded their top two cornerbacks, Jalen Ramsey and A.J. Boye. They obviously have a need in that position. I think C.J. Henderson's the second best corner in the draft after Okura that gets drafted by the Lions. But Henderson played in Florida. He grew up in Florida, sticking in Florida with Jacksonville. It's going to be a nice little homecoming for him. And he's just a big physical corner, and he's great play recognition, and he's proven he can lock down receivers at the highest level.
All right, so the Jags choosing to bolster that secondary with C.J. Henderson, the second defensive back to go in our top 10. And now to round out that top 10, we have the Cleveland Browns with me as the GM, and hopefully they don't have to make a draft day movie about this one because I went with a safe pick for the Browns, Jedrick Wills, offensive tackle from Alabama, who I mentioned, and the Arizona pick, he was considered for that one. But at the end of the day, the Browns will go with Wills because he is the safest offensive tackle pick they can have in the draft. Very high floor for a guy out of Alabama with a proven track record of churning out great offensive linemen. And the Browns too often don't make safe draft picks. They make a safe one here to block in front of Mayfield, in front of Chubb, to protect those weapons. Very similar logic to the Cardinals pick. Number 11, New York Jets. Adam, you're on the clock.
Yeah, with the 11th pick of the 2020 NFL Draft, the New York Jets are going to go with Henry Ruggs, wide receiver out of Alabama.
All right, and why? And I know the Jets need a wide receiver. Why'd you take Ruggs over some of the other guys that are available?
Yeah, well, first of all, the Jets will have to consider on draft night. I think it will come down to tackle versus wide receiver. And so with Wirfs and Wills off the board, I think they turned to wide receiver here. And there have been a lot of reports out of the Jets camp about how enamored they are with Ruggs. There have been a lot of scouting and conversations with him. And I think they like his electric playability. He's coming off a 746-yard, 7-touchdown season. And the Jets just lost their big playmaker, Robbie Anderson, to free agency. Their outside receivers right now are Brashad Perryman, Josh Dotson, and Quincy Enunwa. Those guys don't exactly inspire confidence. So Ruggs will give Sam Darnold the explosive playmaker he needs on the outside for hopefully years to come.
Well, a good GM always trusts his scouts. The Jets are enamored with Ruggs. The Jets take Ruggs at number 11. Number 12, the now Las Vegas Raiders with GM John Kelly. John, what you got?
Las Vegas Raiders will pick CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver, Oklahoma.
All right, Stevie with the TD. Go ahead. Why'd you pick him?
They have had, or they need a wide receiver as a glaring spot in their lineup. And Henry Ruggs is already taken, but he's a bit of a speedster. And I think CeeDee Lamb is more of a nice wideout, and I'll be able to provide a lot more different coverage and opportunities for the Raiders going forward.
Yeah, Lamb, a guy that can take the top off the defense or catch an underneath route. Number 13, San Francisco 49ers, Super Bowl runners-up. Who do they pick? John, it's still you.
They're going to pick Jerry Jeudy. Honestly, he's a great player, great wide receiver. But my main reason for picking him is Kyle Shanahan's talked a lot about this guy. And I think if he had the opportunity to go for Jerry Jeudy, they'd pick him.
Yeah, so in terms of wide receivers, that really escalated quickly. No wide receivers in the first 10, and then 3 in a row. Ruggs, Lamb, and then Jeudy. Fascinating draft here. And we go to the 14th pick now. Adam, you've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, with the 14th pick of the 2020 NFL Draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to go with Andrew Thomas, offensive tackle out of Georgia.
And why Thomas? To protect Tom Brady?
Yeah, exactly. He's a big body at 6'5", 320 pounds, and he was a first-team All-American with Georgia last year. So he has the experience of playing in a high-caliber games against SEC opponents. And the Buccaneers just lost DeMar Dotson, who's 34. He's been with the team for 9 years. And so now they need a right tackle to come in and protect Brady, because Brady at 43 is not getting any younger. And the Buccaneers, the last thing they could afford is for Brady to go down for an extended period of time.
Yeah, offensive line, glaring need for the Buccaneers, and they try to fill it there with Andrew Thomas from Georgia, nearing the halfway point of the first round. Denver Broncos are picking 15th, and Clark is at the podium. The pick is in.
With the 15th pick of the 2020 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos select Justin Jefferson, wide receiver, Louisiana State University.
Clark, I know you're a huge Broncos guy. Why are you excited about this pick?
Oh, Jake, I'm so excited for this pick. Justin Jefferson was electric last year. He had 11 111 catches. That's awesome. And 18 touchdowns. And Justin Jefferson is unique because he's extremely versatile. And that's what the Broncos need right now, because truly they only have one wide receiver in Cortland Sutton. And that's pretty much it. Jefferson can line up in the slot and play well there. He can also get you on the outside and burn you a little bit if you don't watch him. So I think Justin Jefferson is the perfect target to complement Drew Lock and Cortland Sutton and get this offense to the next level.
Yeah, and Sutton took his game to the next level last year. We'll see if Jefferson can make a big impact right away in Denver. All right, 16th pick, Matt Marinchak and the Atlanta Falcons. The Dirty Birds are on the clock.
Okay, with the 16th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select A.J. Terrell, cornerback, Clemson.
All right, give me the Falcons explanation. Arthur Blank, what are you doing?
All right, so obviously they have a lot of big names on offense. Defense, they kind of lost a few guys at free agency. Their biggest loss was Desmond Trufant, their starting corner. So I think they need to draft A.J. Terrell. He's going to fill that void that Trufant left. And Terrell's just a physical corner, tons of athleticism, and he's kind of a ball hawk down the stretch.
Yeah, so a cornerback goes off the board, and Matt, you're loving those corners. Took one for the Jags, now
Yes, sir.
taking one for the Falcons, and that those southeastern teams bolstering up those secondaries. All right, and we are moving quickly now. If only the NFL draft moved at this lightning speed in real life. The Dallas Cowboys are on the clock. Adam, what's your pick?
Yep, with the 17th pick of the 2020 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys are going to go with Xavier McKinney, safety out of Alabama.
McKinney, the first safety off the board, and why him?
Well, the Cowboys, they need to fill some holes in their secondary. They lost Byron Jones to the Miami Dolphins in free agency this year, and with Henderson, Terrell, and Okudah already off the board, cornerback is not looking so good for that high of a pick. So they go with Xavier McKinney, who has the experience of playing under Nick Saban at Alabama. And looking at the Cowboys safeties, they have Clinton Dix signed through only this year. And then Xavier Woods is at the other starting position, and he was a sixth-round pick just back in 2017. So the Cowboys need a safety who can bolster that starting lineup for years to come. And I think Xavier McKinney will provide that out of Alabama.
Yep, all good points, and that's the fifth Bama player off the board. So clearly, some great minds think alike on Nick Saban and his team down in Tuscaloosa. I'm going to head on over. I have the 19th pick. Miami Dolphins are back on the clock, second pick of the first round. And I'm going to head over to Nick Saban's old school, the LSU Tigers, and select Kaylavon Chason, defensive end, edge rusher out of LSU. The Dolphins need an edge rusher, and they fill that gap right here. They've made some great offseason moves on their front seven, adding Kyle Van Noy, Shaq Lawson, among others. And now they'll quickly be able to turn what was a weakness into a strength and take a weak pass rush to a strong pass rush. Dolphins select Chason from LSU. 20th pick now. Clark, Raiders on the clock.
Las Vegas Raiders select Kenneth Murray, linebacker from Oklahoma.
And if he's from Oklahoma and Clark's picking him, you know he's pretty good. Tell me a little bit more about him.
Yeah, Kenneth Murray, he cost Texas so many Red River rivalry games in college, and you can see why. Last year, he had 102 tackles, and 17 of those were for a loss. That's huge for a linebacker. And Kenneth Murray just wasn't one of those guys who's getting tackles 7 yards after the carry. He was all over the field. He was dropping back into coverage. He was getting to the line of scrimmage, disrupting the quarterback, getting in his face. There are just so many places he can be at once. I think that's really important at the linebacker position in today's NFL, where you need speed and power.
And we'll keep it over with you, Clark, out in your podium. The Jacksonville Jaguars have already submitted their pick. You don't even have to leave your podium. Who have they got?
The Jacksonville Jaguars select Jonathan Taylor, running back from Wisconsin.
Wow, the first running back off the board is Jonathan Taylor. Tell me about the pick.
Jonathan Taylor is the best running back in college football. He won the Doak Walker Award 2 years in a row. He was the fastest player in the history of the NCAA to rush for 6,000 yards. He's 6 all time. If he stayed this year, he might have broken the NCAA all-time rushing record. Jonathan Taylor is really unique too, because he's powerful, but he's nimble. He runs through the tackles with ease, and once you get in the open field, you can't catch him.
Yeah, nobody doubting that Jonathan Taylor has what it takes to go to the next level. The only person maybe that's not clapping for that pick is Leonard Fournette, the Jaguars running back, and we'll see, maybe they'll get a two-headed monster going. So now we head over to the Philadelphia Eagles, where Matt Marinchak has the pick.
Right, with the 21st pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select T. Higgins, wide receiver, Clemson.
And is that a Giants helmet in the background of the Eagles front office? What's going on there? Little division rival, little espionage. Tell me about the pick.
All right, so the last few years, Clemson has been a wide receiver factory. You had DeAndre Hopkins, Sammy Watkins, a whole bunch of other guys. And the biggest need for the Eagles is at a wide receiver. Of course, they have Alshon Jeffrey and Deshaun Jackson, but both of them can't stay healthy the entire season. And besides them, you have Greg Ward Jr., who's a good cornerback, so you can't really rely on him to be your number one. But T. Higgins has proven at Clemson that he can be a capable receiver. Last year, having 13 touchdowns and almost 1,200 receiving yards, he's torched about every secondary he's played against, and he's just a big threat in the red zone, and the Eagles need that this season.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's been due to injuries or, just a lack of talent in that position. The Eagles have really not had a great receiving core ever since that Super Bowl. They drafted J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, hoping to change that. He hasn't really made the impact they hoped, so they get a second chance at that here. First-round receiver in T. Higgins. Matt, we'll keep it out there with you. 23rd pick. The Purple People Eaters, the Vikings, are on the clock.
All right, with the 22nd pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Kristen Fulton, cornerback, LSU.
Corner goes off the board. Vikings have a really good secondary already. Why did you feel the need to bolster it here?
So they lost Xavier Rhodes due to free agency, and he wasn't playing at his best last season. Obviously, the Vikings suffered because of that. So they definitely needed to fill that void that he left. And Fulton, he has an interesting story. Suspended 2 years by the NCAA. Had a decent year coming back, but last year was when he really shined and boosted his draft stock. He's just a physical cornerback. He's great at the press, and every game he's just got more capable and more better at locking down receivers.
And the early returns on that pick coming in, I just heard from Kirk Cousins, and he said that you like the pick. I don't know whether that means Kirk likes the pick or not, but you like that was the quote. We head on over to the New England Patriots. Adam in Foxborough.
Yeah, with the 23rd pick of the 2020 NFL Draft, the New England Patriots are going to select Jordan Love, quarterback out of Utah State.
All right, Patriots going with a quarterback. Is this the quarterback of the future for New England?
It is, and last year he did throw 17 interceptions for Utah State, so this is a perfect situation for him because the Patriots already have Jarrett Stidham. He could come in, learn the offense for a year or two, develop as a quarterback, and then he could be the starter after that. But he has all the physical attributes that you would want out of an NFL quarterback of the future. He's super mobile. He can throw on the run, and he's also very adept at bootlegs and RPOs, which is kind of where we've seen the NFL go. So, Stidham can have this year or two. And if Stidham turns out to be a success, the Patriots have a great problem on their hand. They have 2 very good quarterbacks. And so I think Jordan Love will be the pick of the future here for the Patriots.
All right, bold pick in Foxborough. And now, sorry about that. I just realized that for the last 4 or 5 picks, I've been off by 1 on the pick. So that was the 23rd pick, not the 24th pick, as I was saying. A very Roger Goodell, boo-worthy moment for me on the podium right there. We go now to the 24th pick in New Orleans. Who dat? John Kelly.
The New Orleans Saints pick Jacob Eason, quarterback, Washington. Now, I know Drew Brees just signed a 2-year extension for $50 million, but he's 41 years old, and he's not Tom Brady. He could get injured or just not play as well, and they need a good replacement for him. Jacob Eason, not exactly the best quarterback we're going to see all night. However, he's 6'6" and 230 pounds. He's a tank. Definitely something in contrast to, an older quarterback that you'd want to refrain from getting into some hits. So I think Jacob Eason will be a good pick to try and change things up, especially as Drew Brees gets older.
Yeah, they've got Taysom Hill potentially waiting in the wings, but we saw how valuable he was as a playmaker last year. And, maybe they decide to go with a quarterback for the distant future. Eason, not the guy for this year or next year, but maybe 3 years down the line. And John, we'll keep it with you. Vikings picking 25th.
The Vikings will pick Jeff Gladney, cornerback, TCU. Jeff Gladney is a great cornerback, but as Mike Zimmer says, you can never have too many cornerbacks, and I think that's definitely what they're going to be looking for this draft season.
So the Vikings really, between John and Matt, and they're two different GMs for the two different picks, doing a great job of bolstering that secondary. So that's going to be a feared unit next season if this draft came true. All right, 26th pick, it comes back to the Miami Dolphins. I took upon the task of rebuilding the Dolphins in this year's draft. So we've got Tua, we've got Chase on, and now for the 26th pick, the Miami Dolphins will select DeAndre Swift, running back from Georgia. And now I know we praised Jonathan Taylor earlier, but I actually think that DeAndre Swift is the best in this draft at the running back position. A guy with great hands, great speed, doesn't have breakaway speed, but he's so reliable and so smart in the way he can find a hole up the field. Made a great impact at Georgia and will make a great impact with the Dolphins. And now we go on to the 27th pick. Back to John and the Seattle Seahawks. Who will be the 12th man?
Seattle Seahawks will pick Yetur Gross-Matos, edge rusher, Penn State. And now for this pick, Seattle going into the draft, they either need an edge rusher or a right tackle. And Jadeveon Clowney is currently up for free agency, but they probably won't get him back. So that leaves edge rusher as the most pressing need for them. And Yetur Gross-Matos really fills that spot for the Seahawks.
All right, filling a team need. That's always what you want to see in those late first-round picks. We'll see now what John's beloved Ravens do when entrusted with Matt. Matt, you've got the pick.
All right, with the 28th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Ravens are going to be selecting Laviska Shenault, wide receiver, Colorado.
All right, and so why the boost at receiver for the Ravens, who just drafted Hollywood Brown last year?
So obviously, Lamar Jackson can't do it all himself. He's great running the ball, but passing doesn't have a lot of options outside of Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews. Their third best guy is Willie Snead, who's kind of a hit or miss. But I think right here, drafting a receiver is their best bet because he's an explosive playmaker. He knows how to get open. And he had a pretty productive career at Colorado, and I expect that to transition to the NFL.
All right, and with the 29th pick of the TSTV mock draft, the Tennessee Titans are on the clock, and they're going to fill a need on the defensive line and take Javon Kinlaw, a defensive tackle out of South Carolina, who really, I think, is a top 15 talent. I'm very surprised that he was available at this point. Maybe it just had to do with the team needs of the teams in front of me, because Javon Kinlaw fits the bill as a guy that the Titans need. He fits right in with Mike Vrabel's identity, what they're trying to build in Tennessee. Guy's got a great story, hard worker on every single play, and was a real leader for South Carolina. I think that can translate to the next level because he's got the physical skills and stature, as well as stats at the combine, to show that he can be the next great defensive tackle, already drawing comparisons to guys like Michael Brockers. So the pick is in. Kinlaw out of South Carolina goes to Tennessee. And we'll go to number 30 now. We're into the triple digits here. Clark, you're on the clock.
With the 30th pick, the Green Bay Packers select Mekhi Becton, offensive tackle, Louisville.
All right, and Clark, Becton, a guy who maybe fell a little bit further than he would have a few days ago. News just came out that he failed a drug test. But why did you go with Becton in this spot? Not regarding the test, just why Becton for his skills?
Well, he's 6'7", 369 pounds. Not many offensive tackles in the NFL look like that right now. And it's not the fact that he just plays with power. He ran a 5.140 at the combine at 369 pounds. So he's extremely quick. And it's important for the Packers to get an offensive tackle of this talent because they lost Brian Beluga in free agency. You don't want Aaron Rodgers to be chased by Khalil Mack all the time twice a year. Becton can play with a different skill set. He keeps defenders down with ease, but he can also adjust thanks to his quickness.
Yeah, last year, Aaron Rodgers certainly had a Khalil Mack problem, and hopefully Becton will solve that problem for Green Bay. San Francisco 49ers on the clock, second to last pick of the first round at number 31. Clark.
With the 31st pick, the San Francisco 49ers select A.J. Epenesa, defensive end, Iowa. Epenesa, he is awesome. He played in the Big Ten, and that's when you're going up against the best offensive lines in college football. You got to play Wisconsin. You got to play Ohio State. You got to play Michigan. And he was productive against all of them. He had 11.5 sacks last season. He is extremely strong. He breaks through the line of scrimmage easily. He's quick hands, so he can fight the tackles and break away easy, get into the backfield, wreak havoc on the quarterback. I think it fits well within the 49ers identity. Steering offenses with Nick Bosa already, and now you get another pass rusher.
All right, the NFL runners-up make their pass rush stronger at number 31. We're all eager to jump into our analysis of the mock draft, but first, one more pick, the Super Bowl champion Chiefs. John Kelly, close us out.
The Kansas City Chiefs will pick Cesar Ruiz, center from Michigan.
Wow, I didn't know we'd be joined by Coach Andy Reid for this. Coach Reid, what did you see in Ruiz, and why did you make that pick?
Well, number one, he's a big guy, 6'4", 320 pounds. But this past season, the offensive line was riddled with injuries. They had to go to the benches. And while their pass protection was really good, they definitely need some fresh faces in there to keep the trenches full.
Well, Coach Reid, you keep your champagne glass full. Enjoy that win. You guys earned it, and wishing you the best of luck in the upcoming season. Thanks for joining the TSTV mock draft.
Thank you.
All right, so now our first round is concluded, and I'll give everybody a second to pull up the full draft spreadsheet, get it all in front of you, so we can try now to dive into who had the best draft, whether it was a team, an individual making the picks. Anyone want to start with a couple of thoughts on picks that they especially like, other than their own? We'll say that. Other than your own picks, name another pick that you're a big fan of that we just made.
I'm a big fan of all of Adam's picks. It seems like looking at all his picks, he had some of the top talented players out of the whole draft. So I think that was a good job filling those needs for the teams with the best players. Yeah,
and if you look at the guys Adam picked, you had two Ohio State players in Chase Young, Jeffrey Okudah. You had Henry Ruggs and Xavier McKinney out of Alabama, a couple of skill position players on either side of the ball. And then you have Andrew Thomas, the offensive lineman out of Georgia. The pick I like is Jordan Love for the Patriots. I think he's somebody that Bill Belichick will be able to work with and mold into a great quarterback down the line. I agree with you there, Matt. Anyone else want to jump in?
I think one pick that has flown under the radar in our draft is Laviska Shenault. This guy, any other year, would be a first-round pick if it wasn't for the depth at the wide receiver position in this draft. And one thing you have to understand about Shenault is he played at Colorado, and Colorado has not been a football power for a long time. So he had to deal with dysfunction. This is not to take away from any of the other wide receivers, but he had to deal with quarterbacks who are not as skilled. You're having to deal with situations where you're outgunned in terms of your competition, and he was productive in spite of that. I think any team that gets him will be extremely happy and will be surprised at the player he turns into.
Yes, Shenault, one of three players out of the Pac-12 selected in this first round. He joins Jacob Eason out of Washington and Justin Herbert out of Oregon as the players to make our TSTV first-round mock draft. Who else has a thought on who had the best draft, or maybe who got the biggest steal out of all of us here?
Yeah, Jake. I actually like what you did with your draft. Looking at it, you got the Miami Dolphins. You got their quarterback of the future in Tua Tagovailoa. You look at the Browns. You didn't screw up their pick. You got them a reliable lineman that can protect Baker Mayfield. And then if you look at the Dolphins, you got them some weapons too for Tagovailoa to use. You got running back DeAndre Swift, an athletic running back out of the backfield, and then chasing to provide pressure on the defensive side. But I think the best pick is actually your last one, and that's going to be Javon Kinlaw. It's an amazing that he fell, as you mentioned, to number 29 to draft the Titans. And this is a team that already made the AFC Championship this year. So to bolster your defense with a top 15 talent is a huge deal in this draft.
Well, I appreciate the high praise, and I'll see you on the field this season. No, but in terms of the Dolphins, I just tried to sort of fill one need in each round, getting Tua, then Chase on, then Swift. Those are the three glaring needs for me when I looked at the Titans. That pass rush was lacking. They needed a quarterback, and they needed a running back. And now I think they're in a position where they can take the best available, whoever that might be in the upcoming rounds. And if I were them, I'd be looking at guys like Patrick Queen and Grant Delpit, a couple LSU defenders that I was surprised fell as far as they did being out of our first round. Anyone else with a steal they'd like to highlight? who thinks they got a steal? It's okay. It's okay to be proud of your pick.
I got to be honest. I'm really, really happy with my draft. I really think Mekhi Becton has so much upside at the offensive tackle position at pick number 30. That would be great value for him if he falls that far in the draft. And he's a unique player. There are not many offensive line prospects like him because of his athleticism. You don't see that usually at the offensive tackle, especially at a young age. And given the right coaching, I think he could be a Pro Bowl player for a league for a long time in this league. Do you hear me?
Yeah, and certainly, yes, I can now. And certainly, it was a little choppy, but it all came through. I think it's my internet connection. And certainly, Becton's a guy that if the off-field issues were to resolve themselves, that would be a steal at number 30 for the Green Bay Packers. What about the quarterbacks that were taken in this draft? We had Tua Tagovailoa go at 5, Justin Herbert go at 6. What do you make of those two picks right after Joe Burrow? Which quarterback do you think will have more success in their team? You got Herbert to the Chargers and Tua to the Dolphins. What do you guys think about those?
I think it's going to have to be Herbert. Herbert, he was draft ready last year, decided to stay another year, try to win a championship. Obviously, that didn't work out, but he, as Clark mentioned, is the most pro-ready quarterback, the basically prototype of what you want a franchise quarterback to be. And I have an unpopular opinion on Tua. Tua was good, but he's injury-prone, but he also played at Alabama. A lot of his competition, he played like FCS schools, teams that weren't that good. In my opinion, I don't think Tua is a first-round talent as much as he's hyped up to be. I think maybe early second. I think we'll have to see once the season starts how he turns out, but I think Herbert's going to end up with a better career.
Yeah, I've got a very different opinion of Tua Tagovailoa. I think he's well worth the pick at number 5 overall. The Heisman runner-up, of course, from 2018, had one of the best passer ratings in college football history last season at Alabama. But there are those durability concerns. He's a little bit undersized, and we'll have to see how he pans out in Miami. Now, we weren't able to make any trades during this draft, but if you could make a trade with one of the teams you controlled, is there a team you would have maybe traded down with? Is there a team that should have traded up for somebody? We didn't have that leeway, but think of your craziest trade you might have done. And I know I'm putting you on the spot.
Personally, if I were the Patriots, I would try to trade up very high in this draft. You just lost Tom Brady, and you need a quarterback right now. I like Jarrett Stidham, but we're not sure if he'll pan out in the long run. And it's so important. I think this is a theme of this draft. You're as good as what you're surrounded by. And if you get a young quarterback and really work with him, we know the Patriots are stable and know how to draft. You could surround him. There's no reason you couldn't be a contender in the AFC East again in maybe 2 or 3 years.
Well, if there's one thing I've learned, it's not to compare yourself to Roger Goodell. Done that tonight. And also not to doubt Bill Belichick. And now we've officially done both, and I think we've got enough for a show. So thanks for joining us tonight, everyone. It was great to have all of you with us from around the country as we draft for the 32 NFL teams. The NFL draft, of course, coming up this Thursday night. And we hope that if you watched us tonight, you maybe got a little preview of what you might see. We'll see if any of the real-life GMs match our picks. So that's our show. For John Kelly, Clark Dalton, Adam Ogburn, Matt Marinchak, as well as Danny Shee, who did a great job of putting this together. I'm Jake Herman saying good night for now, and we'll see you next week.